And Yusuf alayhi salam answered them, but before answering them, he made a long introduction. Before giving them the answer, he made a long introduction. Why? That was his opportunity. Those people trusted him. Before giving you the answer, let me tell you something very interesting. Before giving you the answer, let me tell you something very interesting. So this is how he started his answer. قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله. He said, no food provided for you shall come to you, but I can give you its description before it comes to you. It was narrated that before the food was brought to the prisoners, Yusuf alayhi salam used to tell them, today, this is what you are going to eat. Today, this will be our food. This is what you are going to be eating today. And they will bring them the same food that Yusuf alayhi salam mentioned. So this, and Yusuf, by saying this, he was laying down more trust that I have the ability to tell you things that will happen to you in order to increase that trust in him. This is how he started the answer. And then he said, ذَلِكُمَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي. This is the knowledge my Lord has given to me. And he said this in order to correct something that might come to their minds. Maybe they will think that he is a sorcerer. He is a future terror. He works with the jinn. And the jinn are in the kitchen observing what is being cooked over there. They come to him and they tell him, Yusuf, this is what the chef is cooking right now in the kitchen. So he tells them. So he wanted to correct this in their minds, that this ability to interpret the dreams and tell you what's going to happen to you is not because of me, is not from me, is not from anyone else except my Lord, Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means this is a gift from Allah. Without Him giving me this ability, I will never be able to tell you anything else. I know nothing. I am nobody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is giving me this ability to tell you what's going to happen to you. In order to correct this in their minds, so no one will think that they are dealing with future terror. And then he said, إِنِّي تَرَكْتُ مِلَّةَ قَوْمٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ. I have abandoned the way of those who do not believe in Allah and who are deniers of the hereafter. What does this have to do with the answer? People are waiting to hear the interpretation of their dreams. But still, Yusuf is taking the opportunity to introduce them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and introduce Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to them. Just to tell them that I'm a believer. I believe in Allah. And I came from a group of people who do not believe in Allah, who do not believe in the hereafter, which means I believe in Allah and I believe in the hereafter. So for them to understand that he is a believer and he is talking to them as a believer, someone who believes in Allah Azza wa Jal and believes in the hereafter. And then he said, وَاتَّبَعْتُ مِلَّةَ آبَائِ. I have left those people who do not believe in Allah. وَاتَّبَعْتُ مِلَّةَ آبَائِيَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. And I have followed the way of my fathers, Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub. مَا كَانَ لَنَا أَن نُشْرِكَ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. It is not for us that we associate any partners with Allah. ذَلِكَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ عَلَيْنَا وَعَلَى النَّاسِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ. All this is a part of the favor Allah has bestowed upon us and upon the people, but most of the people are not grateful. Again, he is still introducing the faith to them. He is telling them who he is. Maybe people, they knew him, as a person in front of their eyes, but they didn't know about his family, about his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather. So he established his reputation first. That my father is Yaqub, and my grandfather is Ishaq, and my great-grandfather is Ibrahim alayhi salam. I came from this lineage of believers. Again, to establish himself and his credibility and reputation in front of the people. Ya صاحبي السجن. He kept saying, Ya صاحبي السجن. أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار. Oh my fellow prisoners, are different gods better, or Allah, the one, the all-dominant, at-Tawheed? He is teaching them about at-Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم. Whatever you worship other than Him, other than Allah, are nothing but names you have coined, you and your fathers. Allah has sent down no authority for them. Sovereignty belongs to none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن الحكم إلا لله أمر أن لا تعبدوا إلا إياه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained that you shall not worship anyone but Him. This is the only right path, but most of the people do not know. Again, very powerful message that Yusuf alayhi salam gave to these people. After laying down this foundation of faith, of Iman, now these people heard enough. And I'm guessing that Yusuf alayhi salam was not talking only to those two people. He was having maybe these two people right in front of him, but he wanted everyone in the room to hear what he was saying. I assume that this message was for everyone in the room, not only those two people. Now he told them enough about himself, about his faith, about Allah, about his family. Now came the time and the moment to interpret the dream. He said, Ya صاحبي السجن, all my fellow prisoners, أما أحدكما فيسقي ربه خمرا. One of you will serve wine to his master. الساقي, he will get out of jail, he will get out of prison, he will be released, he will go back to the castle and resume his task, his work, to go and serve wine to the king. This is the first interpretation. وَأَمَّا الْآخَرُ فَيُصْلَبْ فَتَأْكُلُ الطَّيْرُ مِنْ رَأْسِهِ. While the other will be crucified, and the birds will eat from his head, literally from his head. قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ. This thing is the matter you are asking about. This was the answer. One of them came to him and told him, إِنِّي أَرَانِي أَعْصِرُ خَمْرًا. I have seen myself in the dream squeezing, pressing, wine. And the other, he said, I saw in the dream that I was carrying bread and the birds came to eat from the bread. This was the answer. You will get released, you will go back to the castle, you will resume your work, serving wine to the king. You will be crucified, and the birds will eat from your head. That's it. This is the interpretation of your dream. After that, Yusuf alayhi salam, and this is now Yusuf as a person, as a human being. وَقَالَ لِلَّذِي ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ نَاجٍ مِّنْهُمَا. And Yusuf said to the one whom he believed likely to be released out of the prison, اذكرني عند ربك. Tell your master about me. Your master, the king. When you get out of the prison, go to the king and tell him about me. Tell him that there is somebody who is wronged, a good person in the prison. Maybe he will listen to you and he will get me out of the prison. Don't forget. You see, I did a favor to you. I answered your question, right? So don't forget me when you go back to the castle. Whenever you get a chance, please talk to the king. Tell him that there is somebody who is innocent. He is wrong. And ask him to release me from the jail. This is Yusuf as a human being, as a person. He didn't want to stay in the prison. And this is normal, right? I mean, nobody likes to stay in the prison. So Yusuf asked him to do him a favor. But what happened? فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. So then the shaitan made him forget to tell his master. A shaitan made that person forget. He totally forgot what Yusuf told him. And because he forgot, what happened to Yusuf? فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. So he remained in the prison for a few years. بِضْعَ سِنِينَ, few years. The word bid'a in the Arabic language means a number between 7 and 10. Between 7 and 10. So let's say that Yusuf alayhi salam stayed in the prison for 8 years. For 8 years. It's a long time. During the 8 years, he has seen all types of hardship. The prison is not a hotel room. Most likely he slept on the dirt. He had a rock as his pillow. Most likely he didn't like the food that was offered to them. Most likely he got sick. Try to imagine about 8, 9, or 10 years in the jail. Yusuf alayhi salam, as a prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him stay in the jail this long time. There was a narration, we don't know whether it's authentic or not, that the Prophet ﷺ said that because Yusuf alayhi salam depended on that human being, and he forgot to depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished him to stay. But Allahu Akbar. Everything happens for a reason. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted him to stay in the prison for that period of time. Now, something happened. At the end of that period, something interesting happened. The king himself saw a dream. And he woke up frustrated, scared, confused. And he asked for everyone around him, bring me the sorcerers, the Sahara. Egypt at that time was known with the Sahara, the sorcerers, the magicians. Bring me everyone who can help me to interpret this dream. What did he dream of? قال الملك إني أرى 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخرى يابسات يا أيها الملأ أفتوني في رؤياي إن كنتم للرؤيا تعبرون. And he said, the king said to his people around him, I have seen in a dream 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean ones, and 7 ears of grain, sumbula, which are green, and 7 others which are dry. All people, tell me about my dream, if you can interpret dreams. This is what he saw. 7 fat cows eaten by 7 skinny cows, and 7 lean grain, they were green and 7 others dry. What is this? What happened? What's going to happen? قالوا أضغاث أحلام. They said, it seems to be a mismatch of dreams. وما نحن بتأويل الأحلام بعالمين. And we do not know how to interpret the dreams. We don't know. Nobody knew what, nobody could interpret or explain what is this dream. وقال الذي نجا منهما. And said the one who was released from the prison. Keep in mind that he was still working in a castle. And he heard that the king saw a dream and he is asking people to help him to interpret that dream, and no one could do that. At that point he remembered, oh, I know somebody who knows how to interpret the dreams. I know him, Yusuf. He is still in the prison. How come I forgot him all these years? And sent the one who was released from the prison, out of the two, one of them, and recalled Yusuf. After a long time, what did he say? I shall tell you its interpretation. Just send me to Yusuf. He went to the king and he told him, I know somebody who can help you with the interpretation of the dream. And he is in the prison. Please send me to the prison and I will get you the answer. Right now. Of course, the king was desperately looking for the interpretation. So he allowed him to go to the prison. He went to the prison and he talked to Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf ayyuha Siddiq. This is how he addressed him. Yusuf, the trustworthy person, the truthful person. Aftina, explain to us this dream. And he told him the dream that the king saw. لَعَلِّي أَرْجِعُ إِلَى النَّاسِ. So that I may go back to the people and they may know the interpretation of the dream. So he went to Yusuf, he was rushing to Yusuf. He told him exactly what the king saw in the dream, and he asked him to give him the interpretation so he can take it right now to the people, including the king. Immediately, Yusuf alayhi salam started the answer with no introduction this time. And we will say why. قال تزرعون 7 سنين دأبا فما حصدتم فذروه في سنبله إلا قليلا مما تأكلون. He said, Yusuf alayhi salam said, you will grow crops for 7 years continuously. So what you have harvested, leave it in its ear, except a little which you eat. Don't take the grain from the ears. Okay? Just whatever you need. And the rest, just keep it in the ear. And then he said, then 7 hard years shall come after that, which shall eat up what you have stored for them, except a little which you preserve for yourselves. So after the 7 years of al-khayr, rain, crops, mashallah, 7 other years will come after that. Drought. Nothing. So you will consume during those 7 years, you will consume whatever you have stored during the first 7 years. And then he said, ثُمَّ يَأْتِي مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ عَامٌ فِيهِ يُغَاثُ النَّاسُ وَفِيهِ يَعْصِرُونَ. Then there shall come after that year in which people will have rains and in which they will extract juices. Which means after the 7 years of drought, there will be another year where there will be a lot of khayr, vegetation, crops. People will, have the juice. People have the food. It will be a lot of khayr. So this man got this interpretation and he went to the king and he told him, this is the interpretation. So Yusuf alayhi salam here did not only give him the interpretation. Yusuf alayhi salam gave him an action plan. He gave him a plan of survival. He could just tell him that you will have 7 great years and then 7 years of drought. That's it. But he told him what to do during the first 7 years of al-khayr, of rain, of crops. This is what you should do. Leave the grain, the wheat, the barley, the corn, whatever you have, harvest it. Leave it in its ear. Do not take it out. Otherwise, it will not last for a long time. Accept what you consume, just a little bit. And try to store it. So you will survive the 7 years of drought. So Yusuf alayhi salam was very generous in giving them an action plan. It's like Ministry of Economy, of Finances. Just having a plan for 14 years. Giving them a plan of survival for 14 years. Of course, the king was so happy. The king was so grateful to hear this. Not only the answer, but also this action plan. So what was the reaction of the king? وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُنِي بِهِ. And when the persons went back and he told the king about the interpretation of the dream, the king said, bring him to me. So when the messenger came to Yusuf, he said, go back to your Lord and ask him, what is the case of the women who cut their hairs? Now, Yusuf could say, wow, this is my opportunity. I will be released right now. I'm not going to stay in this hall one more second. But he didn't do that. He asked the man who came to him to tell him, the king wants to see you right now. He wants to show appreciation. He wants to, and Yusuf knew what was waiting for him with the king because he knew that the king was very happy. But Yusuf was not excited to get out of the jail. Instead, he asked the man, go to the king and let him understand and tell me, what was the case with the women who cut their hands? Now, I don't want to continue. We will leave this for next week, but I would like to conclude with something very interesting. What's the difference between the two reactions of Yusuf? The first time when he came to him with the dream to be interpreted, Yusuf alayhi salam didn't hesitate, didn't think twice, didn't even give him an introduction. Right away, this is what's going to happen, this is what you should do. That's it. But this time, when he came to him to tell him that, get out of the prison right now, the king is waiting for you. He said, no, I'm not leaving. Why Yusuf didn't say this at the beginning? When he came to him to ask him about the dream, why didn't tell him that I'm not going to answer this dream? I know the interpretation. I'm not going to tell him until he gets me out of here. Why? Because when the man came to Yusuf with the dream to be interpreted, the whole ummah, the population, the people were at risk. And Yusuf alayhi salam at that point, he forgot himself. He is nobody, nothing. People are at risk and he had to do something to save the people, to save the lives. It doesn't matter whether I'm wrong. It doesn't matter where I am, whether in the prison or outside the prison or on, wherever I am. I don't care about myself. I don't care about where I am. This is something urgent and I need to tell them exactly what's going to happen, what they should do, because lives are going to be lost. You see? In the second time, it's not the case. It's about him. Now, it's about me. I'm not going to leave this place without being cleared. Okay? I don't want anything to be in my record. I don't want anyone to open his or her mouth when I will be out, still saying that, oh, he did it. And he got his time in jail, and now, the king did a favor to him. He didn't want anyone to do a favor to him. He wanted to get out of the jail because he is cleared and innocent, and his innocence should be made public. Nothing less than that. And this is a great lesson that we learn from Yusuf alayhi salam. When it comes to saving the lives of people, to the well-being of the people, we shouldn't care about ourselves. And by the way, the people were not Muslims. Keep in mind. The people of Egypt were not Muslims. They were mushrikeen, they were worshipping idols. Yet, Yusuf alayhi salam was concerned about the well-being of the people. He didn't want to delay the answer. Because delaying the answer, in order to get a favor to himself, might hurt people. But in the second time, it was not about people, it was about himself. And we will continue next week, inshallah, exactly what happened when Yusuf alayhi salam put this request. I'm not going out of this place until the king will investigate the case. Basically, this is it. Okay? He wanted the king himself to investigate the case. And by the way, according to the context of the story, the king had no idea about Yusuf, had no idea about the incident, had no idea about what happened with the wife of Al-Aziz, had no idea, he didn't hear about anything. The king was out of touch at that time. Now it's time for the king to know exactly what happened, and I want him himself to conduct an investigation, because I'm not going to step out of this place until I will be clear. This is Yusuf alayhi salam. We'll continue next week, inshallah, and we will see how the king conducted the investigation. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of us, to bless our families and our brothers and sisters everywhere. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us understanding the significance of the stories of the prophets and to follow their footsteps in their guidance, in their da'wah, in everything they have done. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.